Thank you all so much for being here. We're going to meet today to talk about to develop and implement a project addressing a cultural diversity or social issue on our campus. So let's start out by going around and saying your name and your position and what department you work for.
Okay, my name is Rhonda Husky, and I teach deaf ed students, and I also teach the ASL classes here at MS.
Stephanie Serrati, Spanish Department, Foreign Language.
Randall Ford, Social Studies Department, this year's Psych and Sociology.
Nick Hoffman, also Social Studies and World History.
Okay, great. So I guess let's start out by listing the cultural diversity or social issues that students on our campus might be facing. That would be anything from things that are going on in the community or things that could be going on in their lives personally, or problems that we see on this campus. I can start. So one example would be teen pregnancy. That's an issue on our campus, and it's an issue to the extent that we actually have a pregnancy coordinator, because so many girls need to be advised to get access to medical care and how to manage their schoolwork and pregnancy at the same time. So I would say that's one social issue on our campus.
I can say that in some of my classes I've had students with children, and because of that they've been absent a few times or missed classes, and
Yeah, or
so
they
that
come in.
sometimes is an issue because they have to take care of the kiddos first.
And sometimes they come in and sleep because they've been up all night with the baby. Have you guys had similar things in your classes?
Yeah, I mean, I've had 2 pregnant students this year, I believe.
And did that impact their academic performance either?
Oh, yeah, one in particular, first period, and she would come in and she would be in a coma.
Oh.
Basically, it was just, outside later on in the day when she was more awake, she was vibrant, very awake. First thing in the morning, though, it was, it felt like I needed a sharp stick just to keep her going.
Okay. Hi, Ms. Souffle. That's fine. We're talking about some of the social issues that students on our campus face. And we started out by talking about pregnancy and how that impacts some of our students here on campus. Have you had any pregnant students recently?
And dropped out.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's actually another really good topic, social issue that our students face. Our dropout rate, I believe, is around 4 or 5%, while the state average is 2%. And I know that for English language learners, their dropout rate is actually about 7%. So any thoughts on? So I know that's gone down from recent years, but it is still twice the state average. So any thoughts on why that might be?
Cultural thing.
Okay.
More accepted in the Latino community, maybe to have that.
So
I've seen it in the past. I haven't had a student, we focus so much on the female aspect of it. It probably should be, but we have the males who are the fathers who drop out to support. And I think for whatever reason, you see that more with the Latino community, where they're definitely more supportive, especially at this age, of them getting out and supporting. And sometimes that means dropping out of school and getting a job or going to work with mom or dad and supporting that and essentially starting a family at 15, 16.
I had 2 students, just males, the same thing, dropped out because they had a child. And they were to support the family, so yes, that is true.
So I mentioned that we have a pregnancy coordinator here on campus, but it sounds like there's another side to this issue where the male students are also facing difficulties because of having a child. So do we have anyone who counsels them, or do we have a support program in place for them?
Are we talking about just here at Nimitz or
Mhm.
the district itself?
We're talking about here at Nimitz. Do you know
And to
something?
go back with the culture thing, also education plays a big part. Because even though our culture is Hispanic, once we become more educated, our children are becoming less likely to become part of the cycle of pregnancy and dropout. So that's also an important, but what he's saying, we have a lot of students, especially now, we're getting a different type of ELL student, very different type of ELL student, and they are here to support their families. It's a big part of why they're here, for some of them.
Okay, and so, why are they enrolling in school while they're here?
I think because their parents are hoping that they become something more than just a laborer, or they have equal aspirations for their kids as well. So
Oh, okay, so you're saying that the students are here to work, or just their parents?
yeah,
So education is secondary priority.
for some families, yeah, it is. It depends on the child. It's like
At times it is.
yeah.
So have you seen any programs or anyone doing something to address that has shown any success in changing the perception of the importance of education? Do we have anything in
Communities
place?
in schools is, but I very rarely see kids going down there. I know there's some that are heavily involved with her in CIS, but aside from the occasional, like, I know that she keeps food on hand for families that can't afford to feed themselves. But aside from that, I'll be honest, I don't know what all she does in there other than act as their number one cheerleader, which is a good thing. They do need someone that emotional support.
On the education side, I don't know, health class, but I don't know what goes on.
Well, with the state's abstinence-only education, that,
Yeah.
it's been proven that, well, at least from everything I've read, that states that have abstinence-only education see increases in teen pregnancy. And states like Colorado, which teach comprehensive sex education, I've seen theirs drop dramatically. So we are, in a way, handicapped by the legislation there. At least that's my personal opinion, speaking as the product of a teen pregnancy. So, I've always been very interested in that, in part because of my experience being, I was at my mother's graduation.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
she had me at 16, and she graduated when she was 17 in the top quarter of her class. And that was back when they sent the girls home while they were pregnant.
At times, we've had conversations in class with that. For the most part, more the African Americans than the Hispanics. I have not had anyone pregnant in my classes, but the lack of communication that parents don't have with their children really affects them because, again, with the conversations that we've had in the class, they know, someone's out there that cares for them. They've never had that talking, with their parent.
Okay.
And also if they're involved in sports, they depend on a lot of, sports keeps them wanting to do better for themselves in class, although, you know they're doing it for the sport.
Just supporting them over.
Yeah, and they seek that group of people to help them out with their coaches. I don't know about your athletes, but they depend a lot on the coach. They will go to the coach if something happens. So for our ELLs, although they don't always do it, we try to encourage, if they're my students or they're part of the AEA, we try to encourage them to be part of the community right away because they're kind of isolated.
Right.
they're kind of isolated. They follow each other in groups, because we shelter them. And so they feel like, okay, wait, I don't belong yet. And eventually they just become anxious and want to be part of that. So I feel like sports is something important for them, even if they're just in dance class or anything that gets them involved and they get to see what everybody else is doing. So,
and I'm really glad that you talk to them about those opportunities and kind of guide them toward that, because I think that, I don't think our student involvement in clubs, sports, and activities is very high at this school. And I think that the students might not know about all the opportunities that are available. I don't know if, we don't have a school news program where they can see what different clubs or organizations are doing. And so I think that leads to having a low turnout for some groups.
It really does. This is something that we've tried to address in student council, and this year with the turnover and sponsors, after this year, I'm the only one that's left over from last year. But we're trying to rebrand the school, trying to get our school some school spirit, because this place, I've never heard of school with school spirit so low.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can create it as a community, because we are not a neighborhood school.
Right.
But the kids do need somewhere to belong, and if they belong somewhere, they're less likely to drop out. If they're they feel like they're wanted somewhere. That someone is just happy that they're alive in some cases. That does a lot.
and you don't discourage them, because I know that a lot of our ELLs, they're like 5'4". They're about my height, 5'2". And so they say, we want to try it for basketball because they've seen it on TV, they really like it, they play it probably back home, and you're like, oh gosh, they're not going to make it because they're not at that level. But you know what? You tell them, go ahead and do it. Try it. And try football. That's fine. You want to try football? Go ahead. And they don't, and it was pretty bad. They were really excluded last year, but they tried. And so now I don't want them to be shy about trying new stuff, even though I know they're like, okay, they're not going to make it, but I'm not going to tell them. They just need to experience.
So it's golf.
Yeah, you
There's
have
no
a
height
you have a
requirement
pretty
in golf.
Huh?
Golf, there's no height requirement.
You do have a quite a small golf team, right, Mr. Hoffman?
We do.
And let me tell you, some of them are really athletic. Like they're really athletic. We just have to give them a shot.
We have a spot for them.
Yeah.
Can I encourage some of them to join?
Come
We
find
can.
me.
Do you provide golf clubs?
Pretty much everything.
Pretty much everything. Okay.
Oh, and don't forget about taking them to Top Golf. They might enjoy that.
Sometimes they do, yes.
That's a good idea. Do you guys have anything to add? Any experiences with clubs, after school activities?
Speaking a little bit, maybe deaf ed kiddos who, have their other language barrier, they've gone into some of the dance classes here. And even then, they've gotten more involved, and then they're involved with the shows and the programs and things like that they have. So that's been a plus
Yeah.
for them. So some of the teachers here, they encourage